Picture the last time you sat in a car for a long road trip. You had snacks, a pillow, music. You could roll down the window and step outside whenever you needed to. Now imagine that car has no windows you can open. The air is generated by a machine. There is no stopping. The nearest gas station is 250,000 miles away, and if something goes wrong, no one is coming to help. That is closer to what 4 people are about to experience when they climb into a spacecraft called Orion and point it at the moon. Their names are Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. Together, they make up the crew of Artemis, the first mission in more than 50 years to send human beings beyond the neighborhood of Earth. The last time anyone went this far was December 1972. Apollo 17, the astronauts collected rocks, planted a flag, and came home. When they splashed down, the door to deep space quietly closed behind them and stayed closed for more than half a century. An entire generation was born, grew up, had children of their own, and grew old during that gap. We stopped going not because we ran out of reasons, but because the political will and the money dried up, and the decades slipped by. Now that door is opening again. What these 4 people are about to do is not a repeat of Apollo. The rocket is different, the spacecraft is different, the goals are different, and the experience from the moment they strap in to the moment they hit the water 10 days later is something no human alive has been through before. This is what that experience will actually look like. For days before launch, the crew has been in quarantine, isolated at Kennedy Space Center. They are not allowed around large groups of people, not eating at restaurants, not shaking hands with strangers. The reason is simple. They are traveling to a place with no doctors, no hospitals, and no way to get help if someone gets sick. They sleep on engineered schedules. They eat meals calibrated to the calorie. They undergo daily medical checks. Their families can visit, but the visits are carefully managed. These 4 people are about to travel farther from home than almost any human in history. And in the last days before the journey, they sit in a controlled room, monitored like athletes, before the biggest game of their lives. On launch morning, they wake early, go through final checks, eat breakfast together, and suit up. The suits they wear are bulky orange, pressurized garments designed for one purpose. If the spacecraft loses pressure during ascent, these suits keep the crew alive long enough to do something about it. They are wearable lifeboats, not comfortable designed to work. They cover the whole body, with gloves that lock onto the sleeves and helmets that seal tight. Wearing one on the ground, in Florida heat, before leaving the building is already an exercise in endurance. Once suited, the crew boards a vehicle to the launch pad. Many astronauts describe this drive as one of the most surreal moments of the entire experience. You are sitting in what is essentially a van, wearing a pressure suit, on your way to sit on top of the most powerful rocket NASA has ever built. And somewhere in the background is always the awareness that you might be driving toward the last morning you will ever see on Earth. That thought does not make astronauts turn around, but the awareness of it is real. Every one of them has thought about it. The Space Launch System stands taller than a 30-story building and weighs, fully fueled, roughly the same as a small Navy destroyer. At its base are 4 engines, updated versions of the shuttle engines, rebuilt and recertified for this new rocket. On the sides are 2 solid rocket boosters, enormous tubes of fuel that once ignited cannot be stopped. They burn for about 2 minutes, then fall away into the ocean. Perched at the very top, above the capsule, is the launch abort system. If something goes catastrophically wrong at launch, this fires automatically and pulls the capsule away from the rocket at enormous speed. It is the last line of defense. If everything else fails, the crew rides the elevator up, walks across the crew access arm, and climbs in one by one. Technicians help them into seats, check their suits, connect their cables, then the technicians leave. The hatch closes. The walkway retracts. Nobody tells you how long the waiting is. After the crew is sealed inside, they sit there. Clocks count down, computers run checks. Any small problem can pause the clock. Weather is monitored constantly. The crew talks to mission control through headsets, runs their own checks, keeps calm. The cabin around them is roughly the size of 2 minivans, parked side by side, sealed in, waiting, in a pressurized suit, listening to the rocket move and settle beneath you. The fuel systems are active, valves open and close. Every sound requires a decision. normal, or something to report. At about 6 seconds before liftoff, the main engines ignite. You feel it before you hear it. Vibration traveling up through the structure. Then the solid boosters ignite and the sound hits you in the chest like something physical. The rocket lifts for the first second or two. The movement is surprisingly slow. This enormous machine does not leap off the pad. It lifts deliberately, like a building deciding to fly. Then it accelerates, and within moments it is moving faster than anything these 4 people have ever moved in their lives. The force pressing them into their seats builds and holds. Their bodies feel heavier. Breathing requires more effort. Astronauts describe it as having someone sit on your chest and simply not get up. The solid boosters vibrate deeply, not a gentle hum, but a physical shaking that rattles instrument panels and blurs vision. It is constant. 2 minutes after liftoff, the boosters burn out and separate with a sharp jolt. The ride becomes dramatically smoother. The sky outside has turned from blue to dark. About 8 minutes after launch, the main engines shut off. The acceleration stops abruptly. The crushing weight vanishes. Arms drift up from laps. Objects float. The crew of Artemis II is in space. They are in orbit, but not yet going to the moon. The next several hours are not a celebration. They are work, mission control, and the crew go through every system on board. Life support, propulsion, navigation, communications, thermal control, every reading compared to expected values, every discrepancy investigated, because the burn that commits them to the moon cannot be undone. Once they fire that engine, there is no rescue ship waiting. During this phase, something new happens. Wiseman and Glover take manual control of Orion and actually fly it through a series of planned maneuvers. Future Artemis missions will require crews to manually dock and position near the lunar surface. This is a real test of whether the spacecraft handles the way simulations predict. The only way to know is to have a human actually try it in space. Once checks and the flying demonstration are complete, they prepare for the most important burn of the mission. The trans-lunar injection burn is conceptually simple. They are currently going fast enough to stay in orbit. What they need is to go faster fast enough that Earth's gravity can no longer hold them in a loop, and they coast outward toward the moon. The upper stage fires. The spacecraft accelerates beyond orbital speed. Earth's gravity is still there. It always will be, but they are now moving fast enough to overcome it, to arc away and fall toward the moon instead. The upper stage separates, floats away, and is gone. For the first time, the 4 people inside Orion look out their windows and see Earth getting smaller. Astronauts who have experienced this struggle to describe it adequately, you can see the entire planet. You can see the thin blue haze of atmosphere clinging to its edge, and you understand immediately that this thin layer of air is the only thing between the surface below and the absolute nothing of space. And you are on the wrong side of it. The journey to the moon takes about 4 days, 4 adults, 1 capsule, 4 days to the moon, a few days near it, 4 or 5 days coming home, 10 days in roughly the size of 2 minivans. Sleep happens in bags attached to the walls. No bedroom, no door for privacy except over the bathroom. All 4 sleep at roughly the same time on an 8-hour schedule. The life support system is constant. The fans circulating air, the system scrubbing out carbon dioxide, the temperature controls. The spacecraft sounds like a machine keeping people alive, because that is exactly what it is. Carbon dioxide accumulates in sealed spaces. If it builds up, it makes you feel groggy, then gives you headaches, then affects your thinking. The life support system continuously scrubs the air, which is one reason the cabin is never quiet. Food comes in pouches, freeze-dried meals the crew selected months earlier at a NASA food laboratory. There is a small warmer, but no oven, no table, no refrigerator, no kitchen of any kind. You float, open your pouch, eat, seal the trash. Tortillas are a staple because they do not crumble. Crumbs that float away drift into electronics or get inhaled. Every drop of water was loaded before launch. There is no recycling system. Managing the supply is part of the daily routine. The toilet uses suction instead of gravity. Urine is vented into space. Solid waste is collected in sealed bags and comes home with the crew. There are no showers. 10 days of wet wipes, liquid soap, and dry shampoo. Exercise runs 30 minutes per day on a flywheel device about the size of a carry-on bag. In weightlessness, muscles shrink and bones lose density. The device produces up to 400 pounds of resistance. For 10 days, it is enough to limit deterioration. Communication with Houston carries a roughly 3-second total delay, a constant small reminder that you are genuinely far away. For emergencies, this means the crew cannot wait for permission. They act and inform Houston simultaneously. After 4 days of coasting, the moon begins to dominate the windows. The craters become visible, the dark plains and bright highlands, and it keeps getting bigger. Artemis II will not land. This mission is a test flight with humans aboard, proving the spacecraft works, that the systems function in deep space, that humans can survive the journey. The landing comes on a later mission. Instead, Orion will fly past the moon at about 4,700 miles beyond the surface. That will take them farther from Earth than any human has traveled since Apollo. Farther, in fact, than most Apollo missions. The previous record was set accidentally by the crew of Apollo 13 when their mission failed and they had to loop around the moon on an emergency return path. Artemis II will fly farther than Apollo 13 at their farthest point, about 230,000 miles from home. No human has seen the far side of the moon with their own eyes since December 1972. When Orion passes behind the moon, the 4 crew members will see it from only a few thousand miles away. The crater's older and more scarred than the near side, the crust beneath thicker, and during this time, they go silent. The moon blocks their radio signals entirely, no communication in either direction. These 4 people are not just far from Earth, they are completely cut off from it. No voice, no data, no signal of any kind. Astronauts from Apollo who experienced similar isolation described it as the most profound loneliness they had ever felt, and simultaneously, for some of them, a kind of peace. There is nothing more you can do. You cannot call anyone. No one can call you. You are simply there, and the moon is below, and space is everywhere. Beyond Earth's magnetic field, the rules about radiation change. The planet's field deflects most of the radiation streaming in from the sun and deep space. Beyond the moon, there is no shield. Radiation passes through the walls of the spacecraft and through the bodies of the crew. You do not feel it happening. There is no pain. Radiation interacts with cells, sometimes harmlessly, sometimes damaging DNA in ways the body can repair, and sometimes in ways it cannot. For a 10-day mission, the accumulated dose is within NASA's established limits. The risk is real, but relatively small. The real danger is solar storms' unpredictable bursts of radiation that can spike levels dramatically. Orion has shielded areas near the storage section and toilet. NASA's plan if a major storm occurs: shelter there and wait. There is a team whose job is to watch the sun constantly. They are very good at it, but the sun does not always cooperate with forecasts. After the lunar flyby, gravity does most of the work. Orion uses the moon's own gravity as a slingshot, picks up energy from the maneuver, and begins the 4 to 5 day coast back toward Earth. The planet grows in the windows now instead of shrinking. During this return, the crew is providing information no simulation can. How does the cabin feel after 5 days? Does the air stay fresh? How is morale? What hurts? What works better than expected? Every answer feeds into the design of future missions. Coming home requires slowing from roughly 40,000 kilometers per hour to something survivable. Spacecraft do this by using the atmosphere entering at the right angle so the air creates drag, which generates heat. The leading face of the capsule must absorb that heat and protect the crew inside. Orion's heat shield is made of Avcoat, the same type of material that protected Apollo capsules. It works by ablating, burning in a controlled way, layer by layer, carrying heat away as the material is the temperature of this plasma reaches nearly 3,000 degrees Celsius, more than half the temperature of the surface of the sun. Between the crew and this plasma, a few inches of heat shield material. Communications blackout. The electrically charged plasma blocks radio signals. Houston cannot hear them, they cannot hear Houston. For a few minutes, they are again completely alone. No voices, no data, just heat and deceleration, and the sound of the spacecraft pushing through the atmosphere at a speed no human has survived before. The deceleration builds. The crew is pressed into their seats. Their bodies feel heavy in ways they have not felt for 10 days of weightlessness. Their inner ears, adapted to zero gravity, are being asked to process massive forces again. Then the speed drops below the speed of sound. The plasma fades, the windows clear. The first small parachutes deploy, followed by 3 large main chutes. The capsule swings beneath them, slowing dramatically, dropping toward the Pacific Ocean near San Diego. Impact is hard. The capsule hits and bobs in the swells. A Navy ship has been waiting nearby. Swimmers enter the water. Flotation devices are attached. Tow lines connect, and the capsule is lifted aboard. The hatch opens. Fresh air comes in. Standing up will be difficult. 10 days without gravity means their bodies have forgotten, very physically, how to work against it. Their legs will be weak. Their balance will be off. Walking requires concentration. Medical teams help them out, check vital signs, begin the process of returning them to Earth. But they will be home. 685,000 miles. 4 people, 1 capsule, 10 days. They will see the full disk of Earth from a distance that makes it look like a marble. They will watch it shrink until it can be covered with a thumb. They will see the far side of the moon from a few thousand miles away, its ancient surface stretching below them. They will see the blackness between Earth and Moon, where there is nothing at all for hundreds of thousands of miles in every direction. After Artemis I landed, there was no cover-up of the heat shield findings. NASA published them. They brought in outside experts, ran new tests, built new models, debated openly, and arrived at a conclusion the engineering community agreed with. The fix was sound and the mission could proceed safely. That honest examination of failure is not a sign of weakness. It is what distinguishes programs that learn from those that repeat the same mistakes. Reid Wiseman has seen the photos of the cracked shield. Victor Glover has been in the briefings. Christina Koch has asked the hard questions. Jeremy Hansen, representing Canada in a program that depends on this mission's success, has done the same, and all 4 of them have decided to go anyway. Not because they are reckless, because they have evaluated the evidence, talked to the engineers, understood the analysis, and concluded that the mission is worth the risk, that there are questions humanity can only answer by going. The questions are not abstract. Can Orion handle deep space with a crew aboard? Can the heat shield hold on the corrected path? Can 4 people live and work effectively in this capsule for 10 days? Every answer becomes a building block. Artemis makes Artemis III possible. Artemis III, where astronauts will land on the moon for the first time since 1972, needs this mission to succeed first. Wiseman has flown to the International Space Station before. He knows spaceflight. Not this far, but he knows the demands. Victor Glover spent about 6 months on the station in 2020. He knows the discipline required to stay functional when your body has no gravity to work against. He will be the first person of color to travel beyond low Earth orbit. Christina Koch spent 328 continuous days on the station, a record for the longest single spaceflight by a woman. She knows isolation, boredom, the physical and psychological pressure of living far from Earth for a long time. Now she will travel farther than any woman ever has. Jeremy Hansen has never been to space before. Artemis II will be his first spaceflight. He will go from 0 experience to the farthest distance from Earth any living human has traveled in one mission. NASA does not send unprepared people to space. It is simply a notable fact. The first spaceflight he will ever take will be to the moon. Every space mission is a bet. You gather all the evidence. You run all the simulations. You test every part. You find what might go wrong and fix it. You build the best possible version of the vehicle and put the best engineers in the world on every system, and then you put people in it and go, because no test, no simulation can fully replicate what actually happens when the machine is in space with human beings inside it. Some things can only be learned by doing. Some questions can only be answered by going. The losses in spaceflight, the crews that did not come home, were not the result of carelessness. They were the result of the fundamental reality that pushing into unknown territory with imperfect information carries risk that cannot be reduced to 0. The crew of Artemis II knows this. Die brace lest what by don't war. They have looked at the heat shield situation honestly, assessed what was done to correct it, and concluded that going is the right thing to do. That is the bet. 4 human beings, strapped into a capsule the size of 2 minivans, riding the most powerful rocket NASA has ever built, pointed at the moon, trusting that the math is right, that the materials will hold, that the engineering will do what it is supposed to do. When they come back, If they come back the way the plan says, they will have done something no human has done in over 50 years. They will have gone to the moon and come home. 69 people have been to space. Of those, only 24 have traveled beyond low Earth orbit. When Artemis II launches, that number will grow by 4. You could fit every human being who has ever traveled to the moon into a single bus, with seats to spare. That number is about to grow. And what these 4 people carry is not just instruments and food pouches. They carry everything learned in 50 years of spaceflight since Apollo. Better computers, better medicine, better understanding of what the human body does in deep space and how to protect it. They carry the question that only the journey itself can answer. What happens when you point a spacecraft at the moon and actually go? Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, Jeremy Hansen. They will strap in, feel the engines ignite beneath them, and leave. And the door that has been quietly shut since December 1972 will, if the engineering holds and the math is right, and the shield does what it is supposed to do, be open again for good.